Bantamweight bout here. Yanis Ghemmouri coming in at plus 235 against Caolan Loughran. I think that's how you say it. Minus 310 for Loughran. Over under 1.5 rounds, minus 220 for the over, plus 180 for the under. 12-1 for Yanis, 8-0 undefeated for Caolan. We're coming in here. Caolan is the Cage Warriors champion at bantamweight. He just won that back in May 6th of 2023, and that was a vacant bantamweight championship. Got the finish in the second round there. He's been fighting in Cage Warriors for his past 4 fights, and if you look at Yanis, he's not a big Cage Warriors guy, although coming out of France, he's been fighting over Brave CF and some UAE Warriors. He's been on a good little win streak here. His last loss was back in 2015. He hasn't been super active, but been a little bit more active as of recently. But coming in here as a big underdog. I mean, these are 2 newcomers to the UFC, so it's tough to really gauge level of competition and who they're fighting. If I look at who Loughran is like beating, I want to say it's like anybody crazy good. But it is Cage Warriors, which is like one of the better promotions in Europe. I don't know. It's really tough to judge these fights. I don't think I could really get behind minus 300 on any kind of debuter. But what are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, betting wise, this fight's just going to be like impossible to figure out what to do, because it's even like putting Loughran in a parlay. It's like, man, he's making his UFC debut. There's so many factors that go into that, from guys being nervous, guys, can't handle this big of a stage and the bright lights, anything like that. And both guys are making their debut, so you just don't know. You look at Loughran though, and he gets a lot of finishes. He's got great kickboxing. He's strong. Like, he's shorter. I think he's 5'6", all muscle. He's super tough too. He can take shots. But he's really accurate and he's really powerful on the feet, and it leads to a lot of finishes. What I do like looking at his record is that he's not just going out there and finishing these dudes in the first minute or the first round. Like, he gets a lot of finishes somewhere in the middle of the fight, which shows you, he sets up his shots well. He knows how to, I guess, stay composed. You can watch a lot of his fights. He does have a lot of composure in the first round, kind of figures his opponents out and then breaks them down from there. I do like seeing that out of a prospect who hasn't fought at this level yet, because sometimes things like that take time to learn. He throws really good kicks. He throws them straight up the middle, and that lead left hand he seems to hurt guys. He's got a good left hook. And, you look at Yanis, he does have K1 kickboxing experience, I believe. Kind of more of that counter striker. He's going to sit back and wait and look to counter guys. Sometimes waits a little too long, in my opinion, to where he falls behind. Eventually, he finds a lot of finishes. Some of his wins, what I mean by falling behind is like a few of his wins recently have come by split decision, where he's looked good and then he kind of plays that counter striking game where he waits and then guys catch up to him and make it a really close fight. So yeah, taking all that into consideration, I do think Loughran wins this fight. I think it's a guy, out of Ireland. UFC loves those dudes, McGregor, Ian Gary. If he can just keep winning, he's going to have a bright future in the UFC and he's going to find a lot of success. So I'm going to take him for the pick here. Again, betting wise, minus 300, never a good idea. If you're out there listening, never a good idea for a UFC debuter, especially fighting another debuter. You just don't know what you're going to get at times. But from the naked eye and watching these dudes side by side, I do think Loughran gets this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, based off the film I watched, it's probably going to be somewhat of a kickboxing type of fight. I mean, Loughran very content to stand and strike with you, even despite being 5'6". He's going up against 5'9" Yanis here, who's another kickboxer. So I don't know. Maybe he wants to mix it up and go for some wrestling and some grappling. He's got a couple submissions on his record, 2 of them to be exact for Caolan, but they were back, in his second and third fight in his professional career. So maybe he was just fighting cans, which, if you look at it, I mean, his fight against Will Cairns. Will Cairns was 0-39 at that point in MMA. So that's like a submission win over him. What does that really mean? That guy actually had been submitted 15 times and knocked out 27 times. So there it is. I mean, even before that, the guy he fought before that in 2019 was 0-31. So this is like it's really tough to take those wins into account. You could pretty much just wash those out. Like he's probably 4-0, 4 wins in Cage Warriors. That's what he is. Minus 300, I don't think I could get there because Yanis could very well go out there and give him some problems with the length and the kickboxing. I don't think Loughran is some like elite striker on the feet. So I think it'll probably be a little bit closer. I will take him for the pick. But yeah, I mean, Yanis definitely got a shot as a dog here.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about Loughran too that I noticed that I forgot to mention is that like his movement isn't like it's almost like a kickboxing movement. Like the head movement's not really there for MMA. His footwork, he's going to need some work, and he might get by with it here against a guy like Yanis, who's maybe not the best or highest level debuter, but at some point, like that footwork and head movement is going to have to get better at the UFC level because he will get caught at some point. I don't know if it happens here, but just something I noticed watching film.
That is just wild. I mean, his first 2 opponents combined record were 0-7. That's insane. But I'm still gonna take him for the pick.